Right. Hey, everybody. This is Jenny Eden-Burke, and I am so excited to have you back for another episode of Food, Mood, Attitude, where we talk about all things eating psychology, body image, mindfulness, eating empowerment, mindful eating, and wellness, and so much more. This is episode number 9, and I am so excited to have a wonderful guest with us. Her name is Marina Darlow. And let me just share a little bit about Marina. So, Marina is actually a systems expert and a productivity geek. She sees her job as helping impact driven entrepreneurs get 10 to 20 more productive hours a week, stop leaking money, and prevent stress fuel breakdowns. Hey, you're like describing me. An engineer by training, Marina came to the realization a couple of years ago working for a conglomerate is not as inspiring as she wants her life work to be. The quest for inspiration brought her to found Vision Framework, a company that builds small, purpose-driven businesses from the inside, helping entrepreneurs run their companies with ease by putting effective, easy-to-use, and fun systems in place. So welcome to Food Mood Attitude.
Hi, thanks for having me here.
Of course. So share a little bit more with us. Tell us a little bit more about how you got into systems and when you realized you were a productivity geek.
Great question. So in terms of when I got into systems, in a sense, I have always been. I went to school for industrial engineering and management. And I guess analytical and kind of linear thinking comes to me very, very naturally. So the path to engineering was pretty clear because I didn't want to do finances. After I was on the sharp road to burnout, and when I left my corporate job, at some point, my mentor at the time said that I can think very systematically, and therefore I should make it a business. That didn't go off well. I think I was refusing to go into entrepreneurship for about a year, probably more. I went and did a degree in Rhode Island School of Design.
Yeah, RISD. Oh, cool.
Yeah, like I really didn't want to do anything with my previous career, which is in project management. Mm-hmm. But somewhere in the middle, a friend needed help with her new practice. She was a therapist at the time, and she just went from an agency to having private clients. She was trying to figure out how many clients she can bring in, how much money she's going to charge, how much money she's going to make, how many hours she's going to work. And she was really struggling. Now, for me, it's something that I'm very comfortable with because I'm like, I ran big projects. And I'm like, okay, let's sit and do the numbers. And that's what we did. We sat down and I made a spreadsheet that would essentially, okay, here you plug in how many clients you can have. Here you plug in how much you charge. Let's put in all your programs, and the output would be how many hours you're going to work and how much money you're going to make, given all the conditions that you give. And she was really, really, like, for her, it was something completely non-trivial. And this is when I understood that the ability that I kind of take for granted could actually be of value to people who are very good at things that I can't even imagine doing, who are really truly building lives, sometimes from the ground up. So somehow I can be of service to these amazing people in their really impactful work. And that's how my business was born.
Oh, wow. That's so interesting. So what do you love most about what you're doing now?
Definitely working with clients. Definitely seeing people having aha moments. I like the sense of my clients feeling easier. I like giving control to people. Because let's face it, when people come to a consultant or a coach or kind of any service provider, and especially if we're talking about kind of deep stuff like what you deal with, like you deal with food, which of course ties to the image of self and self-worth and how you feel and how you find your place in the world. And in small businesses, there are actually very similar issues. So people that come to a specialist, they don't come because everything is fine and dandy in their lives. They need some kind of help. And more often than not, they need the sense of having a relaxed control over a certain aspect of their lives that they lack. And I think that's my favorite part, because this is exactly what I do. I make sure that the situation is under control and that the person in the driver's seat is the business owner.
Yeah, that's so important, because a lot of entrepreneurs start out having nothing, they know nothing. And they're just kind of crossing their fingers and hoping for the best and have no idea about systems or organization or building, the business aspect. At least I had no idea about any of that. I had to learn everything on my own. So as a systems expert, for anybody who doesn't even know what that means, can you describe what a system is and how it helps people?
Oh, it's a wonderful question, especially when people hear systems and their eyes start kind of glazing over. Apologies. So system, in other words, could be described as a framework. Yeah. And what's important, that a good system is not just a tool, it's not just an app that you do. Let's say you have an app for putting in on all your invoices, or you have an app that helps you meditate. System is the tool plus a process that you follow, that more often than not, it's a habit. This is when system really starts working. So if you have a system for meditation, and let's say you use the app to help you, you also go through the process of, say, meditating, whatever, every morning at a certain hour, say, taking off your shoes and putting yourself having a ritual, putting yourself on whatever, a yoga mat. I haven't been meditating for a while. You can hear that. I've been struggling with it myself.
True confessions.
Right. But there is a process to it, a process to using the tool. And the same is true with your finances or with your project management. If you have the best software to manage your to-dos, but you don't really use it, and moreover, if you don't have kind of procedure with yourself, kind of an agreement and a habit of, say, opening it up every day at 8 and at 2 and checking stuff off and deciding, making certain decisions, what goes on to next day, what can be delegated, what can be scrapped, all these things. If you don't have a process, the tool is useless. So a system is a combination. System is the processes that you have and that you follow kind of habitually, plus the tool that you use.
Oh, that's a really, really great explanation, because it goes one step further than just having the platform or app or tool, but really how you're using it and how you're integrating it into your business. So we're going to get into some of the systems that you've used with respect to your own health journey in a minute, but I have to ask the question, what is your favorite system that you use, for any entrepreneurs who are listening?
It's hard to decide. I would be dead as a business owner without my calendar, without my budget and cash flow, without the scheduling, the online scheduling tool. I would really struggle without a good system, kind of a good process that I developed for myself for podcasting, without a certain number of checklists. So for instance, if I onboard a client, I would really struggle if I didn't have a process. I have a process for, doing discovery calls. It's really, really hard to choose. So
what about for your clients? Is there one that people are like, oh, how did I not hear about this before? Why am I not using this?
It really depends on the person. So the spreadsheet that I mentioned before, where, it's basically a business model where you plug in how many customers / clients in what program, how much money you charge, and at the outset you get, how much money you're going to make, how many hours you're going to work. That is pretty popular. But really, it depends on the needs of a client. Some people come to me because their schedule is a mess and because they can't seem to get anything done. Other people come because they have this wonderful idea, but they struggle with launching it into the world. They need somebody to map out the route for them. And that's actually one of my favorite pieces. So it's not a system per se, because it's a system in a macro sense. Like, there's the beginning, there is, the middle, there's the launch, and there's the components that don't vary, like who's responsible, how do you delegate, when do you have the feedback loops, or, if it's just you, when do you kind of have check-in points? What questions do you ask? How much money every step is going to take, how you're going to budget for that. So all these things, it really depends on the client, which components are the most needed in that particular case.
Yeah, that totally makes sense. And I'm sure there's like a get to know you phase and an understanding of what the client really wants and needs before you even suggest anything and before you even
Absolutely. Because the thing is, systems and processes is a pretty broad topic, and it could be applied to almost anything from, building a shipyard to having your own self-care routine. And the principles, I think David Allen said something, the same principles apply when you run your to-do list, when you run a company, when you run a country. And he's right. Yeah. So yeah, I guess it depends where the emphasis falls in each specific case.
Yeah, that's great. And it's so needed. Like, if I had, known you 2 or 3 years ago, I would have been one of your first clients, maybe.
That would be nice.
So tell us a little bit, because I know you have your own sort of health journey. And I think you even said like you maybe lost 40 pounds and kept it off like pretty intuitively and without any like dieting or harsh, like over exercising and things like that. So will you tell us a little bit about where you were
Absolutely.
and where you are now, just in terms of your own health journey?
So there are actually a few components to it. When I was much younger, I was struggling with extra weight, pretty like a lot of extra weight. You can't see me, but I'm not very tall. I'm like the opposite of very tall. So 40 pounds was like made a huge difference. And I was trying diets and I was trying exercising. And of course, inevitably that would not work. I would kick the diet to the curb and have ice cream and, have a pity party of how miserable I am and nobody is going to date me and I don't look good enough. And, I can't buy the clothes that the pretty girls are buying and so on. And the exercise, it's boring. My goodness, I hated the gym because it's freaking boring and I didn't have anybody to go with. So that, this would be the first thing that would go, like first thing that would fall off, because every time something happened, I had, extra hours that I had to work. I had exams or I had, bad breakup, whatever. Every time something would happen, the first thing to fall off my schedule would be exercise. Mm-hmm. And then at some point, and that would sound like super cheesy. So my apologies. But basically what happened, I met the guy who's now my husband. And why does it matter? Like, I cannot recommend this recipe for everyone because I kind of plan on keeping him. But the way it changed things was actually because when I met him, he accepted me just as I was. He didn't think that I was not deserving or that I needed to change in order to be loved and accepted and generally worthy. Mm-hmm. He was absolutely fine with me just as I was. And something in that mindset, something in that acceptance finally made me say, oh, you know what? I'm okay. I'm good. Something clicked into place, and very quickly, I was at peace with myself like I never was before.
Wow.
And from that place, I suddenly realized that I'm not necessarily as hungry. I don't do any kind of emotional eating. We go to the gym together. And I guess good genetics kicked in. Again, I'm sorry, that's just luck. Like, I wish I could say that, oh, I did it all by myself. But, luck was a part of it. So what was really in my control, so to speak, was the fact that I just became much, much, much calmer and kind of stopped thinking about my weight, and basically started eating when I'm hungry because I could, and not eating when I'm not hungry because I didn't need to, because it's not like I'll be dieting tomorrow. And, I could eat anything I wanted. And I started exercising more or less on a regular basis because now I had somebody to go with, and it was kind of fun and it was motivating. And the thing is, when you exercise, for some people, your body, starts regulating itself better. So it sends you the signals about hunger versus, being full and being happy when it really needs to.
Mm-hmm.
And basically, this is how I kept off all of that weight till today. And it's been 20 years-ish.
Wow. Oh,
maybe
my
19.
You've been with your husband 20 years?
God, this is scary. No, we've been together 19 years as of May 5th.
Wow, that's a long time.
It is, isn't it? It's weird. Oh, sorry, you wanted to ask a question.
Well, I wanted to respond because there's a lot that you just said. And, as an eating psychology coach, this kind of approach that you took or didn't take, is as it were, is very interesting to me because what I'm hearing in your process is that you just became happy and you let go of the obsession around food and the worry around food and the worry around your weight, because you felt very self-possessed and you felt loved and accepted by your spouse. So I see that quite a lot, that when people are living in alignment with who they are and they start to, build their lives with somebody, as long as it's a good relationship, of course, and they start thinking about other things, their body relaxes a bit. You might have been in a stress response, just thinking about food all the time and worrying all the time, that your weight just naturally released to where it was supposed to be in the first place. And that's what I'm hearing. And that's what I see a lot. And it doesn't have to be like with a relationship, but if somebody finds their perfect job, or someone is like pursuing their passions, or they're building in spirituality in their lives, or they're sleeping better, things that are really off kilter in their lives, when it becomes more centered and more calibrated, oftentimes the food becomes less of a surrogate for what they're missing in life. And that sounds like is somewhat what happened to you.
I think it's very much how you describe it. When you take off this emotional struggle, and by the way, it's exceptionally true for business as well. It's like...
Good point. Good parallel.
I think I'm just really thinking about it now because I'm having all these conversations on my own podcast. So for the first couple years in business, many people, myself included, honestly, 80% of what we do is not building a business in a practical sense. It's not, building your website and putting up Facebook ads and creating your programs and hiring whoever contractors. No, 80% of your time and energy and headspace is battling your own freaking emotions.
Yes.
Because I cannot tell you how often both me and my colleagues, my entrepreneurial friends, we have meltdowns, we have doubts, we're trying to get out of, this big looming depression and fear of failure. It's plain time consuming. And that's even before I'm talking about, preventing yourself from really doing stuff that you care. The same way I was talking about going to the gym. Like, I was so frustrated by the way it looks. Going to the gym was kind of like half the time I wouldn't even bother because I hate it and it's boring and everything. But when you start, like, when you feel differently about yourself and about your weight, and by the way, another thing which you might appreciate, one of the things that really made a big change for me, that I started seeing myself as a thin, fit person, even when I wasn't, technically speaking, very thin, even before I let go of all the extra pounds. Mm-hmm. But, you see yourself as a thin person, as a fit person. And fit people, they don't eat ice cream at midnight. That's just not what they do. So you don't do this. And fit people can go and have a walk instead of sitting in front of a TV or with a book. And fit people, are really enjoying the salad and like kind of appreciate the different tastes and the combinations. And fit people cook for themselves because it's fun. So because you start seeing yourself differently, your behaviors naturally change without you even having to do any kind of effort. It just kind of derives from who you think you are.
Mm-hmm. So you're really describing a mindset shift more than anything else. And you're Absolutely. Also describing, this is about self-image and body image in a way. And you started to, make some changes that seemed more organic. So like a lot of people will have an exterior or external sort of motivation driving them to do certain things. And it sounded like you sort of shifted into this internal motivation, like cooking because it's fun, going to the gym with my husband because it's fun to do it with somebody.
Right. He was a boyfriend at the time, but yeah.
Boyfriend, right. But you see what I'm saying, that you sort of move the goalpost, and as such, what you wanted happened anyway.
Exactly. And I'll tell you more than that. It's actually, I really wanted to bring it up because when we talk about exercise, so for the first 37 years of my life, I very honestly saw exercise mostly either as a punishment or as, a necessity.
Yeah.
And I would exercise because it helps me keep my sanity attached. It's probably the best defense that I know. Obviously, I'm not talking about cases when people need medication, but outside of medication, it's honestly the best tool that we have to protect us from the roller coaster of emotions. And that's before we're talking about other benefits. So I would exercise, and I would kind of do it like when I had people to go with, when I'm like, okay, I really have to do it because it makes me feel good. But a couple of years ago, a friend brought me into rock climbing, indoor rock climbing. And it turned out that this is the sport that I really honestly enjoy. It's like something that I do for fun. If you would tell me 3 years ago that I would do exercise for fun, I would laugh you in the face. But it's something that I find completely amazing because, well, again, first of all, it works with my body type and it plays to my personal strengths. Like I have no upper body strength. So swimming, for instance, is, again, super miserable. I have no stamina. So running, oh gosh, these memes, like if you see me running, start running yourself because something is probably chasing me. That's me.
That's me too, actually.
Join the club. But climbing turned out to really harness what I'm good at. So for instance, I have good balance. I have really good grip strength. I'm flexible. And more than anything else on top of that, it really engages my mind. Some people love exercise because it kind of clears their mind. So the runners and the swimmers, it's kind of like, they just very much let their body work and their mind is like empty, and that's great. Mm-hmm. I can't. For me, it just like it's boredom and like all the unpleasant voices just, party in my head. But in climbing, I am basically solving puzzles all the way to the top.
Yeah.
Right.
That's really cool. Go ahead.
No, sorry. Like I'm very excited about it. It has so many parallels to real life. I can like wax poetic about it forever and ever and ever. But on the wall, first of all, if you fall, you're on a rope, you're safe. It's okay to fall.
Right.
It's, unless you're bouldering. And if you're bouldering, which is climbing without the rope, you fall on a big mat. Well, you could hurt yourself, but there's a big, thick mat. So you're not going to like really injure yourself really, really badly in most cases. And the routes, they're ranked. So you can see your progress, first of all, very, very literally. Like you go higher on the wall than you went last time. You climb a harder route. So for instance, you start with 5.6s and now you can climb like a 5.10, which is like a few ranks up. And it's amazing because you couldn't a year ago. So it's really, really wonderful way to see your own progress. It's motivating. And for a person like me who really needs numbers to be happy in their lives, the numbers are there and you feel it in your very muscles. So climbing as a physical activity is, to me, so wonderful and amazing. I can't wait to go climbing every time I can. Like I bring exercise into my life without feeling that it's something I need to do. No, it's a perk.
Right.
And obviously, I think I'm in best shape I've ever been in my life. Wow. Which is, honestly, it says more about how I was previously.
Don't say that. I really resonate with what you're saying in terms of finding an activity that works not only for your body mechanics, which is so important, but also for your personality, really. And I really understand, because I used to want to do step aerobics because at least I could think about the choreography and I could really be thinking about my body in space as it's related to the step and all the different moves that you could do on it. And I was so engaged physically and mentally that I loved it, And then when I switched to the elliptical and I was just going like this for like an hour, it was soul crushing. Like, oh,
exactly.
So I really relate to that. Finding that joyful place where it's engaging your mind, it's engaging your muscles and physically, and you're still getting all the benefits of the endorphins and the mental clearing after like all of that stuff too. So it's like a win-win for you in that area.
Yeah. It's amazing how like now I can walk into the climbing gym and I could be angry and I could be unhappy with the way something going in business. And I could be unhappy with a few people that didn't treat me right because, or I could be just really, really anxious. And in an hour or two, I would go out and like, as if by magic, like, I'm good.
Yeah.
I'm like, my life is fine. I can fix everything that needs fixing.
Yeah. We should have like a group entrepreneur climbing.
Oh God, trip. So much. Do you know Tara Gentiles? She's one of the, top people up there. She is now very well into 7 figures. She's been at it for a while. So she climbs and she's, she also does videos of her climbing. And at some point she was like, okay, you know what? Maybe I should do a climbing retreat for entrepreneurs. I'm like, yes, please. I will come.
Yeah. Like, cause you really just described it so well before, like, it's a lot like this, entrepreneur, you're like, oh, everything's amazing. Oh, everything sucks. Everything's amazing. Everything sucks. And so like, if you're in that low spot, existentially in your business where you're like, what's it all for? Like, where am I going? What am I doing? You head to the gym, you head to your class, your climbing class, and you leave and you're like, I know exactly what I'm doing next,
Or even if I don't, I will know. Like, I'm smart. I'll figure it out.
Yeah. You get like that boost of like momentum and feeling like that hope again. And I feel like like little things do that for me in my business, whether it's literally just going in nature, like stepping away from the computer and just going for a walk, a hike, or something like that is really powerful. Or journaling, or just doing something totally different.
Right.
Is a way to like kind of
out of your own head.
Yeah. So I wanted to ask you one more question, and that is, tell us a little bit about some of the systems that you use around self-care and around your health and wellness. And a lot of people who are watching today are very interested, obviously, in food and health and wellness. And so, and because you're a systems expert, I'm very curious to hear what you use.
Okay. So, a few things. First of all, I think the cornerstone of any system, self-care or otherwise, is create a schedule that fits your lifestyle. And usually what I mean by that is you need to design your week. So you need to, some people call it theming, but basically you allocate certain times throughout your week for certain activities. So for instance, if Mondays are your writing days for your business and Monday afternoons are your self-care days, you know that every Monday afternoon you go, I go climbing, right? That's what I do. And when you have this schedule, first of all, why should you even bother? Because then you're never in the space like, oh, what should I do today? Oh God, I have so much, I'm so overwhelmed. And then you end up not really doing anything. But you know, when a task comes your way, you know where to plug it in, right? Mm-hmm. If it's writing, you do it in writing. If it's, research, you do it on your research day. If it's a video, you do it on your video day, and so on. And the same way, you plug in your self-care, especially if it's exercise, or if it's meditation, or if it's anything like that. So that's a system I use. Now, I have a child, and it actually works out very well because when your child has activities, as you probably know very well, you're kind of anchoring your week around these activities because you have no choice.
Right.
So that, in my case, actually makes it easier. I have set times throughout my week when I exercise. Mm-hmm. I have a certain place where I exercise. Again, in my case, it's my climbing gym. And that's as much of a system as there is, except the fact that I, for myself, really like measuring my success. Mm-hmm. And I know that some, obviously, yesterday, for instance, there was like, okay, I'm taking it easy. I worked through the weekend because I launched something this week and was like a really intense launch. So, yep, I'm tired. I'm not going to, to try new and hard routes.
Yeah.
I'm just going to show up.
Compassion and
exactly.
Just allowing yourself to be and not always be pushing.
And by the way, that's another important thing. So within the system, you have to allow flexibility. Mm-hmm. Because if I said, no, Monday is my day when I have to push really hard and only Wednesdays I can relax, I would basically shoot myself in the foot. Oh, God. Right? Yeah. So first of all, schedule times. Mm-hmm. Secondly, if you have a place, that really also helps anchor the self-care, helps tie it and kind of make a bigger imprint. So you feel more committed. If you have somebody to go with, even better. So for instance, when I didn't like going to the gym, but at least I had a friend to go with, mm-hmm. and we went on set, certain days because again, we both have kids and we build our schedules around that. We went together. Yeah. I had somebody to go with. For things that are food, I actually really wanted to share that. So take it from a person who hates meal planning. I really do. I don't know why, but it really makes me very, very upset. We recently discovered, somebody tipped my husband off. There's this app called No More To Go.
Never heard of that.
Like, I wish I were an affiliate. I wish they were paying me because I love them and I keep telling people about them. But basically what they do, you know how there are these services like Plated and Blue Apron that bring you food for the week? Mm-hmm. So that's not it.
Okay.
We tried a few of them and we said then, oh God, so much packaging. We just like, it hurts to look at all the waste of all these packaging that they sell you and they're expensive. Yeah. So the No More To Go, and probably there are other services like that, What they do every week, they give you a list of recipes for the week. Like you say how many people, you say kind of what you like, and they give you a list of recipes. And then they automatically, like, if you like the recipes, you check them off, and they make a grocery list for you based on what you need. That's it.
So cool. I love that.
And this is so great. Like, honestly, we've discovered, I think a couple months ago, we are eating so well since then, because they tell you what to cook for every day.
Yeah.
And the recipes are they're very easy, mostly. There's nothing, 3 stars of Michelin complicated, really not. But they're great. They're amazing.
Mm-hmm. I feel like that's really key, because it's not the cooking that's the hard part. It's the deciding what to have.
Exactly. That's the part I hate the most. And that and grocery shopping. I really don't like grocery shopping. So my system for grocery shopping is send my husband.
I love that system. Everybody should do that.
He gets to, he gets off the dishwashing duty. I wash the dishes and clean, but he goes grocery shopping. So you can call it a system, I guess.
Yeah, why not? My husband does all the shopping too, but mostly because I'll buy like 8 different chutneys otherwise, and like sample everything and come home with all this random stuff. And he's like, I've got it. Don't come next time.
I know I'm exactly the opposite. Like, if you sent me to a supermarket, especially without a list, I'm like, I'll come home with bread, maybe apples. That's it. I'm like, what else do we need to buy? I'm kind of lost. What do we need to buy?
That's really funny. So you've given us some really interesting tools. I love this idea of planning out your week ahead of time and so that here's the time for self-care. Here's the time for my business. But I also love the flexibility that you bring to it. So like, someone invites you to coffee, then you have the reserves to say, and the flexibility to say, yeah, absolutely, let's go do that. And I'm going to just reverse my timing a little bit to recognize that all of these things are important. And sometimes you have to suspend your system to be flexible to what's happening around you.
Absolutely.
What's going on. Yeah, this is great.
Yes, very much.
So tell us how people can find you. I know that you just launched a podcast.
I just launched a podcast.
Yes, so tell us about that. And where can we find it? And where can we find you?
Okay, so you can come to my virtual home, and it's vision-framework.com, because I build frameworks for visionaries, like people watching this video, hopefully. If you want to tune in to my newborn baby podcast, it's really cool. I have 20 interviews lined up already, and it's really, really, Jenny's one of them. Yes, she is, and it's a great interview. And I will send a big announcement when the interview's out, and Jenny will as well if she wants to. So you have to ask her. It's coming out in a few weeks. The podcast in question, called Systems Meet Humanity. So you can go to systemsmeethumanity.com and listen to it there, or you can find it on iTunes or on Pocket Cast, Overcast, all these, like, basically almost every place that does podcasts. Mm-hmm. Come argue with me, tell me I'm wrong, tell me I'm right, comment, leave a review on the podcast. Seriously, the podcast is really new, and I would hugely appreciate to read what people think, because feedback is super important at this stage. I want to know what my audience wants. Mm-hmm. It's funny because I have 3 episodes out and already can tell which one is the most popular. But yeah, please come leave a review. Let me know what you think. If you like it, share it. If you like, sign up for my free course. It's Which System You Should Tackle First. It'll pop up at you when you come to the website. And
I linked it in the show notes already as well.
Wow, so. Thank you. So yeah, if you're trying to figure out what system you really need now, rather than, I need all the systems for everything. And then, of course, you take no steps because it's just too overwhelming. So that course is going to walk you through a series of questions to help you decide where to start. And then we'll give you recommendations, which systems, like say you need to start organizing your money better, which systems should you use? What feels kind of more natural and intuitive to you personally? That's what this course does.
I love that. I'm going to do that. That's amazing.
Please.
That's great. And I will also link the iTunes link to your podcast. And also, I want to put down in the show notes, what's it called? No More to Go?
No More to Go. Yeah.
No More to Go.
It's life-saving. It's amazing.
That's a great tool. I never heard of it. So I love learning new things that I can implement potentially into my own routine.
Yeah.
So it has been such a pleasure having you on the show, Marina, and I will look forward to having you back and collaborating more in the future. Any final thoughts? Any other last minute tips you'd like to share with the audience before we wrap up?
That's a trick question. Thank you, first of all, for having me. It was fun. I really had fun, spilling my guts about my own journey. Thank you for giving me the stage.
My pleasure.
Parting words? As always, systems, frameworks, structures, all these things that could sound threatening and rigid and restricting, when you use them right, they're your friends. Like, you would not think of the walls of your house as something restricting, right? They protect you.
Well, one apartment I had in Manhattan did.
Yeah, well, there are bad walls, just as there are bad systems. Oh God, you reminded me of like a teeny tiny room. It wasn't even a hotel. It was not even a guest house, like some profanity hole that we took for one night in Thailand, and was like it was spending the night in a coffin, basically.
You felt constricted.
Yeah, I was like, I could touch the ceiling lying down.
Whoa. Oh my goodness.
It was like really, really, really. And it was like this kind of sickly blue color on the inside.
Interesting.
But yeah, they're bad walls. Yes, I agree. But the walls right here, I kind of like them. I like the fact that they keep the ceiling above my head, and that they separate, my bedroom from my living room and my kitchen and so on.
Yeah.
So good systems are really there to support you.
Yeah.
They need to be flexible enough so you're not suffocating within the systems. A good system would need to leave you some choice, but really, you can't sustain anything, not your health, not your sanity, not your business or your job, without some kind of systems. You just need to make sure that they're in place and that they work for you, that they're really custom crafted for your needs.
Yeah, that's a wonderful way to finish up today. And thanks again for all your wisdom. And we will see you next time on Food Mood Attitude. Have a great day, guys.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thanks. Bye.